Hi everyone, this is Dev jumping in with a quick update. As I mentioned, we went on break for the holidays, but before we come back, there are a few items I need to go over. Just some quick housekeeping items. First, I want to address a comment we made in our Sonic High School series. I think I mentioned Internet Historian's adaptation of Sonic High School. I said something like, it's fantastic, go watch it. But in light of Internet Historian being exposed not only for his plagiarism, but also his potential political alignment with neo-Nazis, we want to formally unendorse his channel. We don't support Internet Historian, and we recommend that you don't support him either. Secondly, an explanation about the remainder of Scrollsvember. So we did have something pretty big planned, and we even had a friend of the show, The Only Tables, on as a guest, but without going into exhaustive detail, the recording was just completely unusable. As a result, we were unable to put out our final episode for Scrollsvember, so that's the reason for that. That all being said, Joan and I have recently run into some kind of burnout with the project, with the show, due to just like changing life circumstances as well as other creative projects we want to pursue. Joan is going to be focusing on animation, is even in the beginning stages of learning some game development, which I'm really excited for. And then I myself, I'm working on polishing a manuscript for a horror novella, which is set to come out in 2024, which I'll talk a little bit more about later on. Long story short, due to the number of things we have going on, we're putting the show just on a bit of a hold for the moment. I would put our tentative return date somewhere maybe in April of 2024, although I can't make any guarantees. I don't want to make any promises I can't keep. Additionally, episodes, when we do return, will be released bi-weekly in order to kind of ease up on both of our schedules, just because, again, we've got a lot going on. If you're interested in more Disaster Piece Publishing content, I've started posting bonus content on the YouTube channel, which I'm calling Disaster Piece Book Club. It's where I go into like some of the backstory about certain episodes, talk about my progress with some other pieces I'm reading for the show, and mention some cut content or things we decided in the end not to cover. The first episode of that is actually already up. It talks about The Dark One, which is the follow-up to The Never King. It's a book that we decided not to cover on the main show, and it also includes a rewrite that I did of some of the chapters in that book. So if you're interested in hearing some of my writing, or I guess I should say my attempt to improve Nikki St. Crow's writing, you can check that out. Some other things in the works for Disaster Piece Book Club include a retrospective on Sonic High School, which I'm currently in the middle of. Basically, what I'm doing is listening back to each episode in the series and then talking about my thoughts, providing context, elaborating on like realizations I had later while listening back to it. And that should be coming out hopefully in a couple of weeks. There's not really like a set timeline or set schedule for releasing this content. It's just whenever I can finish it, really. If you want to subscribe and hit the notification bell, you'll be able to see when those things come up. Some other things I plan on covering with the bonus content include my hot takes on the real Baron Zaya, as I alluded to during Scrollsvember. I was thinking of also posting my progress with reading the John Brown Isekai, because I think what we're going to do is I'm just going to read each of the novelettes, and then we're going to summarize a novelette in an episode, just because there's like a lot of chapters of the John Brown Isekai, and it'd be impractical to go over each and every one. So we're just going to kind of do a coverage of each novelette as I finish them. And then I did also, I think I'm going to go into Sad Blart as well, just because I do want to finish it eventually. I've got like 5 different things I'm reading right now, but I'll get around to it. Additionally, I have been told that I have an ASMR voice, so with this bonus content, I decided to like fully lean into that, and I did include some ASMR elements. So even if you're not too interested in the bonus content itself, if you do need something to help you sleep, check it out. I'd also like to talk a little bit more about what's available on the Patreon. There's a live brainstorming session for the Jeff the Killer parody episode, which I think is really cool. Like, that's the kind of exclusive content that I would pay to hear, because you get to see Joan and I actually put it together and kind of figure out how we want the episode to go. And then there's also our follow-up on Sonic Stasia on Blue Steel, where we read the rest of the series detailing the relationship between Sonic the Hedgehog and Anastasia Steele of 50 Shades of Grey. So if you want to hear Joan start dissociating 2/3 of the way in, that would be a good one to listen to as well. In addition to that, on my Patreon, you can also read the first draft of my horror novella, chapters of which are currently uploading weekly. They should be finished sometime in the middle of January. It's called Fever Dreams. It's about a guy whose sister tries to sacrifice him to a dark god, but she doesn't quite finish the job, before the police and the paramedics arrive. So while the main character is fighting for his life in the hospital and the doctors are trying to piece him back together, this dark god is putting him through a gauntlet of nightmares to try and get him to give up on living in order to complete the sacrifice. So if you're interested in that, check out the Patreon. Of course, there's also short stories, thumbnails for episodes of my webcomic, so on and so forth. So if that all sounds interesting to you, check out the Patreon. And of course, as a subscriber, you'll get early access to all Disaster Piece content in the future. As always, thank you to Aria for the use of our theme music. You can find a link to her card below, as well as link trees for both Joan and I. And thank you again for listening to the show. We'll be back in 2024.